Deep Shot Podcast, Season 4, Episode 20.
Got to be Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders?
Yeah, got to be Barry. End of list. Was Eric Hinsky number 20? Maybe that's like way off.
Thomas Brown, 06, 05, Georgia running back, if you remember him. And the only thing I can ever think about with 20 is who was that NASCAR driver back in the day? Like Tony
Stewart.
Dude, he was
everybody's
guy back in the day when I first found out about NASCAR. It was a 20 car. So shout out that guy. You'll never hear us talk about NASCAR other than that right there.
If you want to talk NASCAR, though, hit us up. Because, I low-key, when there's no sports on, like July, I'm tuned in, brother. I'm watching Daytona 500.
I also want to give myself a pat on the back because Eric Hinsky was number 20. So, I don't know. I'm just kind of proud of myself for that pull. And I want to make sure that gets the recognition. Eric Hinsky, beast.
All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Deep Shot Podcast. We have week 8 picks for college football. Crazy. Over the halfway point. And week 7 of the NFL. Our buddy Dave, I don't know how to say his last name. Jake, do you?
Laudano. Dave Laudano.
He'll be joining us here soon to give us his guest picks and best bets. Before we get into all of that, the shirts are on the way. They have all been shipped out by now. So, you should be getting them by the end of this week. If not now, by the time you're listening to it. If you're not getting them, let us know. But everything should be coming out to you by the weekend. Again, thanks for purchasing those. We're really excited to get those to you. Another big announcement I just want to make next Tuesday. So this upcoming Tuesday, October 21st, I'm going to be live streaming some Conference USA Tuesday night action. Okay, me and Swaggy JLK. You've seen him on there. If you haven't seen the college football is back video on the TikTok and the Instagram, he is the guy that was notoriously screaming at the other guy saying, "Welcome to the SEC." He has been on the Instagram, kind of talking Big Ten shit for a while. So if you don't know him, you'll learn a little bit more. We've got Kennesaw State at Florida International on Tuesday.
Ooh.
If anybody saw the Kennesaw State win last week against Louisiana Tech, they're legit. And then speaking of Louisiana Tech, they're going to host Western Kentucky on Tuesday night as well. So we're going to have both those going on. We're going to be doing some fun things. We're going to be betting the games. We're going to have some things that happen. I'll let you know a little later what's going to be happening, but make sure you guys are tuned in for that. Might have some special surprise guests come through. Maybe Caleb and Jake might join up. You never know. But last thing I want to mention, Deep Shot Party, November 22nd, Mutation Brewery. It is coming up almost a month away. So make sure your calendars are cleared, ready to go. It's going to be a big one. And yeah, so let's get into it. Before we start talking about the games for this week, we were doing the podcast during the Falcons game on Monday night, and we ended up coming away with the win. Quick thoughts.
Well, real quick, my first thought of it was I hate that we had already done our players of the week because it should have been Bijan, 238 yards of total offense, an 81-yard touchdown that we actually were able to capture on the pod. Defense looked great. Offense looked, good. Bijan and Drake London looked incredible. A little tough second half for Michael Penix, but I'm not worried about it. It was a great all-around win.
I was super impressed by the offensive play calling. It looked generic from the basis of it, but it really wasn't. And it was schemed up enough to where, obviously you got the explosive out of Bijan and we're able to throw the ball down the field and take 6 or 7 yards here or there and, come away with a victory. And it was never really, you could say it just felt like Atlanta dominated most of that game. And I think that's probably, it wasn't just a feeling, it probably was the truth. I would say some questionable calls down the stretch for Buffalo on offense in terms of the stuff. I think they were trying to Mickey Mouse their way a little bit to some of those play calls. They end around or you fumble it. Let's not get cute. Maybe let's run it with Josh Allen. It's 3rd and 1. You kind of need a win. You guys thanked me for New Orleans getting their ass kicked by my team. Okay. And now we've kind of returned to center here a little bit. You guys have put the New England Patriots at the top of the division, which whoever thought that would have been the thing to say this year.
Let's get into a big win for the Falcons. We're going to talk about them a little bit later on as well in our previews and picks. Let's start on Saturday. LSU is going to Vanderbilt in Nashville, 11 a.m. local kick. Indy is -2.5. Over under is at 48.5. Listen to this stat. First time Vanderbilt is favored over an SEC opponent since 2018 against Tennessee. First time Vandy has been favored over LSU since 1948.
That's surprising.
They haven't favored like
Imagine-
Kentucky or Mississippi
Yeah.
State. Like, they hadn't ran into one of them at some point.
That's
Insane.
interesting. At least over the last year and some change with like in the Diego Pavia era where they've been like decent, I would have thought. Even with the James Franklin, when James Franklin's at Vandy, he had some solid.
Yeah,
some
but James
decent
Franklin was like
teams, some
08.
seven,
So they've been
eight
favored
wins.
since that. But yeah, 2018 is the last time they were favored in a game against SEC opponent. Coming off a bye week, LSU's got a top 10 defense. I'm coming off a big win against South Carolina. Another tidbit, Clark Lee was the defensive coordinator under Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. So a little familiar matchup here, familiar styles. LSU's offense last week against South Carolina, I talked about it for a little bit. They had some crucial turnovers. They could have scored. They won 20-10. It could have been like a 35, 40-point game for them. They had 2 turnovers inside the 10 that, pretty much wiped out really efficient drives. Vandy has forced 10 turnovers this season already, so one of the top 10 teams in doing that. So don't want to be doing that against Vandy. I feel like they'll be able to take advantage. Now, Vandy is very weak in the secondary, ranking in the 70s in pass defense. They've given up 11 pass touchdowns this year. Pair that with Aaron Anderson coming back for LSU this week. I think that can be a huge point in this game. And Vandy had a really good rush defense going into the Bama game. Still does, statistically. But Bama didn't have a good rush offense in that game, or going into that game, and they ran all over Vanderbilt. So can LSU kind of do that? They haven't been able to run the ball well at all. I think the whole passing thing, I think Aaron Anderson coming back, and I think this is where Garrett Nussmeier starts to get going a little bit more. I think the Vandy being favored for the first time forever, I think Vandy could be a little inflated. Now, if they come out and win this game, though, you're legitimately talking about can Vanderbilt make the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point to end on. Yeah, it is. I think this is the penultimate put up or shut up for LSU. They are 5-1. They are still very much in the thick of things here in the SEC and in the national title hunt. But they have to win this one because next year they got Texas A&M, then they have Alabama, then they have Oklahoma to finish the season on November 29th. So this is, out of those 4 games that we're looking at, you have to imagine this should be the easiest one of the 4. That and Texas A&M, because they get A&M at home, but I think A&M's still a better team than Vandy. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking at. Can we see Garrett Nussmeier take that next step that we've been just waiting on all season to get to? You talked about Anderson coming back, so we'll see. I do have a pick in this one, so I guess I'll go ahead and pass it off.
Yeah, this is a big kind of like, to me, one of these seasons for this team is going to pretty much, you can say what you want to, kind of be fractured from here on out, whoever loses this game. I mean, you're talking about 2 losses facing the rest of your SEC schedule. I know, you guys already talked about it. It'll get easier for either team going forward in terms of the teams that they're going to face. And look, you can say whatever you want to, but Vandy's here, man. They have earned the right to be favored against LSU of all places, get them to come to their town and play some football. And we saw them against Alabama, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, Vandy was really 2 red zone turnovers away from really having fans in Bryant-Denny Stadium a little nervous. So obviously, they're going to play with their hair on fire. That's what Vandy does. They're coming off a bye. It's Pavia versus Blake Baker and Brian Kelly. I'm sure Pavia is going to have some choice words for Brian Kelly as he, goes out of bounds at some point or another on the sidelines, probably going to chirp and bark. I imagine there might be a fight or 2 in this game. That's what I think is going to happen here. And that's what I'm excited to see.
That would be crazy. You think LSU and Vandy are beefing that hard?
I think Vandy's going to piss them off just by running their mouth, especially if they jump on them early. And in terms of teams or head coaches that I could see having his team fight, Brian Kelly's in like the top echelon of can't control your team in that kind of scenario. And they're also, most of them are from, Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi. Fighting's like the secondary language down there.
Yeah, this is a big game for Vanderbilt team as a whole. If they win this game and they're sitting at 6-1, and I mean the SEC schedule they have down the road isn't going to be easy, but I mean you got to think we're going to get down to the college football playoff rankings, and they're going to be like in the top 20 probably. I mean, could you imagine a world where we're looking at like a 10-2 Vanderbilt and debating whether or not they should like get in over a like a 10-2 or like an 11-1 Georgia Tech or 10-2 Georgia Tech? Like, we're debating between 10-2 Georgia Tech or 10-2 Vandy. I mean,
that will be the day. The whole SEC, I feel like now that we're like now really getting into the teeth of the conference schedule, Like, I mean, just looking at Vandy's, they got. I mean, they just played Bama, then LSU, Mizzou, at Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, at Tennessee. I mean, that's freaking brutal for any team in the country. Then we're not even talking about, that we've talked about the Florida, we've talked about the South Carolina schedule. Georgia's is not a cakewalk coming through till the end of the season.
All of them are difficult. All of them.
They're all so hard, and that's what ticks me off about the Big Ten people talking about not playing playing one less conference game. It's just so stupid. And I don't get how anyone wants to see it this way.
In some of my research for the pod, I actually came across a tweet that was talking about, like, why would any coach leave or go to Penn State when they're scared, or leave the SEC to go to this, because Penn State's schedule is a cakewalk next year. Like, it's not a conversation. If you go to Penn State, you're going to get to see Oregon, maybe. You're going to see Ohio State. You're going to see Indiana now every year. But outside of that, like, there's 7 teams in the SEC that are comparable talent-wise and could give you fits as the top 3 in that division are. They're getting off weeks off.
I've seen a lot of people online mad about, like, Illinois and Washington weren't ranked. And buddy, I don't know what team.
We've seen Illinois enough.
We've seen Illinois get smoked by every good team they play, and they say Washington's the only 5-1 SEC or Big Ten team that isn't ranked, and there's a lot of people like getting mad that they're not ranked. I would just show me a good win that Washington has. Okay, let's get into second game. We're going to talk about Ole Miss at the University of Georgia. Georgia is -7.5, over under at 54.5, 3:30 Eastern kick. I'm going to be in the building. Shout out to my brother Austin, bought us tickets. We're going. I'm really nervous that I could end up being 0-2 in Sanford Stadium this year, but I'm going to hope that doesn't happen. Top 10 matchup. Ole Miss is the only team to have beaten Georgia in the regular season besides Alabama in the last 5 years.
Just coming from experience of the game, because I was there to see that. The goalposts come down. They go down the main street of Oxford. The library's a movie. May or may not saw Jackson Dart in there after the game. Pretty sick. The whole celebration, all the stuff that I'm talking about that was cool about the game is only possible because, first of all, Ole Miss had like 3 NFL players on the front 4 last year and played ball. They were really good in the secondary. Carson Beck kind of was not necessarily sharp in that game last year. And then you also, like, the weather was a little bit of a factor because it was soaking ass wet in Oxford that day. And Ole Miss just came out, and lest we forget, they have Jackson Dart as their quarterback last year. I think the talent, matchup is a little bit more favorable for Georgia this year than Miss was last year, I would think.
Yeah, I will say though, like, Ole Miss has looked good offensively so far, and they had Trinidad Chambliss has obviously just been like, a really cool story, or like just a surprise in the dark for Ole Miss. They were expecting to go through this whole season with Austin Simmons. He hasn't really been back at all. They have a top 10 offense so far. He's been very mobile for him. He's thrown for over 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. And in this game, with a team like Georgia that has no pass rush, he could be dangerous. And I was thinking about that Ole Miss game against Washington State last week and how close it got. And then I thought about how I watched a Lane Kiffin interview. I think he was on Part of My Take, and he was talking about during the bye week how they spent a lot of time, preparing for Georgia. And so I kind of watching that game away last week to think anything about it because I think they're going to be ready to go. Georgia doesn't have a pass rush. They don't know how to play a good first half of football. That's something that's obviously a thing, and we have to be concerned about it for Georgia fans. What I need to see is the offense just has to stay on the field and rush the ball. Ole Miss ranks 97th in rush yards allowed on defense. Bowens is supposed to be back. I think we have showed really good ability to run the ball, even whether it's Gunner or any of the backs. I would prefer it to be Bowens and Frazier, and I don't want to see Cash Jones and Josh McCray that much. That's just me, but we'll see what happens. Another big thing for this game is Ole Miss is only scoring touchdowns on 66% of their red zone drives. So UJ is top 10 in red zone defense. Can we stop a lot of touchdowns and make them become field goals? I think that's going to be a big thing for Georgia's defense. They've only given up 7 points in the last 6 quarters of second half football. So against Alabama, Kentucky, and Auburn, they've only given up 7 points in the second half between those 3 games. So Ole Miss has a shaky defense this year. It's not, like Caleb said, as good as it was last year. It doesn't have all that talent. Georgia's got to be able to exploit that early. And if we get up 7-0, or if we have a lead in the first half, I feel comfortable about us winning. But we haven't proven to be able to do that yet. So we'll see what happens.
I think the biggest thing when you talk about this game is you have to ask the question on which Georgia team are we getting? Like, are we going to get the Georgia team that was absolutely sleepwalking in the first half against Auburn, or, the first half against Alabama, or are we going to get the team that came out in the second half of Tennessee and got us right back into the game and, took care of business? That's the biggest thing to ask. A couple things that stood out to me is, Trinidad Chambliss has been probably like the poster child for this college football season. The biggest surprise. This will be his first snaps he takes on the road. His games against Arkansas, Tulane, LSU, and Washington State all at home. Most of those games were tight. He beat Arkansas by 6 points. They beat LSU by 5. And then obviously last week against Washington State by 3 points, which no one saw that coming. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I believe they were 27.5-point favorites.
It was huge.
It might have been a little bit even more than that. I think it might have been around 30. Regardless, they were definitely asleep at the wheel last week against Washington State, and I wonder what that means. Now, were they looking ahead to Georgia, and they're just going to be even more ready this week, or did Washington State maybe see something? They're not quite as good as what we were expecting. I see no reason why Georgia should not win this game. I think we should absolutely win this game. Looking at it from a gambling perspective, I will not be touching 7.5. That is a terrible number, in my opinion, for this game, especially how Georgia's looked the last few weeks. Like, I think we should be able to win it, but I just don't know if we're good enough to just hand the number 5 ranked Ole Miss Rebels 7 points plus the hook. It's kind of a little scary. Yeah, to talk about one thing you said, Gary, you talked about our run game. So, okay, so I'll say I like Bowens, I like Frazier, but I'm with you on Cash Jones. I really don't like Cash Jones, but dude, I love Josh McCray. He had a pretty good game last week. Josh McCray had a solid game last week. He averaged like 4 yards per carry.
Dude, I think the thing with McCray to me is like, it just seems like they're trying to, and I think this is for all the running backs, they're trying to game plan it so hard to where like Josh McCray is going to come in and wear you out for like 2 or 3
short
yards.
yardage. Yeah.
And I just feel like they try to play it where like they're going to have Bowens and Frazier start, and then they want to get to the fourth quarter and run, McCray down their throats. And I don't know. I don't know if he's a big enough threat to like be explosive, and maybe that's what annoys me. But I mean, it's like I think about that 3rd and 1 last week. Now there was a missed block, but I mean, it just seems like everyone knows what we're about to do when he comes into the game. So
yeah, that's fair.
That's my only thing. But I'd love if
he's just huge. He is huge. I just love to see him get on the field.
I know the Georgia fans are going to go at it right here and really get their feelings out there. We all know how Jake is too, which we appreciate his in-depth takes. It's a little bit less of analysis than what he gave you on the previous episode when we had a bunch of 6 and 7s thrown out in one sentence. Still, I woke up, it tears in my sleep yesterday morning. I was like, do I need to go to work? What time is it? And I saw a 6-7 on the clock. Okay, that's where you've got my mind at. But in terms of the game, let's get back to the game. Enough of these numbers. DJ Allen, I think, is going to be the key player of this game for both sides of the ball. One, I would argue he is Georgia's best player. I don't know if you guys got any pushback on that.
I wouldn't argue against it.
And so what he's going to be tasked with, because his tape against Auburn was awesome. His tape has been awesome ever since he started playing football in the 8th grade, which, fun fact, shout out the 478, that's where he's from. This guy's going to be tasked with spying Trinidad, playing run fits for Ole Miss, and playing in the pass game with Lane Kiffin's system. If he is the player that I think he will be, I think the middle of the field is going to be basically shut down for Ole Miss outside of something, 20 yards downfield. And even at that point, I guess the hope is that Georgia's pass rush can get there. I wouldn't put too much stock in what they did against Washington State last week. Like, obviously, it wasn't what it should have been, and that thing was really, really close at a couple points in the game. But again, we all said it and knew it, that they were not looking to game plan for Washington State. I imagine a lot of things that they ran against Washington State were intentionally done to set up his calls for this week. And I'm interested to see how the half dynamics work in this game, because Georgia's gotten away a couple times this year, been really good in the second half. I think if you live and die with that formula, at some point, somebody's going to get your ass. At some point, there's going to be a point in the game where you're not going to be able to rally behind Gunnar Stockton in order to get him to make a comeback. if you're going to make a bet in this game, I love the fact that you guys are staying away from 7.5 here. I think you bet Georgia, whatever the live bet is, to cover or win with about 2 minutes left in the first half. Whatever it is, just bet it. It's probably going to hit.
Yeah, that's usually when things get turned up for the Dogs. All right, let's move on.
I had no idea that C.J. Allen went to Lamar County. How about that?
Yeah,
That's
you should go look up his high school highlights, bro. He was the whole team, and they probably won 50 games while he was in high school because of him.
Did not know that. Did not know.
Like quarterback, running back, single. They just set hut, snap it to him. I mean, he ran for 1 billion yards. I remember a high school game one time. This is when I was first hearing about him. If I'm not mistaken, he had like 28 tackles or something in a game, and a forced fumble and a couple sacks, and then he also ran for like 240 in a game. I mean, he is insane.
Dang, what a dog. So Tennessee is playing at Alabama. Right now, Alabama is 7.5-point favorites, over under at 58.5. Third Saturday in October, that's what they call it. Huge battle for two offenses that have been humming so far this season, especially in the last couple of weeks. The big difference here is Tennessee has been awful on defense. They are 101st overall and 106th in passing defense against a guy that a lot of people are calling the Heisman favorite in Ty Simpson. And, you know, we've talked about Caleb more specifically talked about how good their receivers are. Tennessee still kind of out on those top corners that, you know, Matt, back when they were, I remember when they were playing Georgia, talking about they were at their two corners. Well, one of them still hasn't touched the field this year, Jared McCoy, and he had a big game in this matchup last season. Tennessee and Joey Aguilar, can they keep it going and find a way to score on this Alabama defense? Alabama is second in the country in explosive pass plays prevented. Not a lot of deep shots are being thrown on Alabama. Tennessee is averaging over 200 yards a game in the running category, and Bama's still pretty bad at stopping it. I just don't think Missouri was really trying that hard last week. So can Tennessee kind of exploit that and, you know, maybe get a couple deep shots down the field to kind of keep their offense going? I just think the problem is they're not going to be able to stop Alabama. They're not. I just went over it, how good Ty Simpson's been, the receivers have been. It feels like DeBoer and Ryan Grubb are in their bag right now. It feels like they've really figured some things out since the Florida State game. The teams look like the best in the country, if not, you know, top 3, top 5. And I just have a hard time believing that this Tennessee defense, who we haven't seen be able to stop Arkansas, we haven't seen them stop Georgia, you know, Mississippi State had them on the ropes. Like, I just don't see that situation when they have to go on the road. This is also Joey Aguilar's, I believe, I think they played at Mississippi State. But so all respect to the Cowbells, this is going to be a bigger environment for him. And I just think Bama rolls in this game. I think they covered at 7.5.
Yeah, I think Tennessee should be able to score points in this one. I think Aguilar and the receivers are talented enough to be able to get some deep shots and be able to connect on them and be able to score. You know, I could see Tennessee getting in the 30s in this one. But the big question is if they're going to be able to stop probably the most talented quarterback in football right now, at least between the ears, the most talented, Ty Simpson. And I don't know. If they can, I mean, if they can get Simpson to maybe turn the ball over here and there, maybe get a nice time Jam Miller fumble or something along those lines, and maybe they get a chance. But I don't know. It's going to be quite difficult for these guys. Both these teams' lives are on the line in this one. You know, to some extent at least. So we'll be interested. I do have a pick in this one, so I'm gonna leave it at this. But it should be a good one at least. Yeah, I know, why not? I do love the name, the third Saturday in October. That is just like just a beautiful name for a rivalry.
The fans are gonna be winning team smokes the cigars.
Yeah.
My buddy Nick Rogers, he always gets a cigar for this game. Even the fans do it. I mean, they are ready.
Vibes are definitely going to be up for this one. In terms of a player that Jake brought up, Jam Miller, interested to see if he even plays. I don't know what Alabama is going to look like without him. I mean, we saw it for about a quarter and a half last game. Yeah, I mean, he might not even be able to touch the field this week. So we talked about it on the last podcast that, you know, the backup guy, the name escapes me, I think it's Hurd or something like that. But he's huge, big number 4. He should be able to tote the rock, but it's going to be Ty Simpson against a bad pass defense. And you guys hit it nail on the head. I think the only way that Tennessee has a shot to win this game is if they get Ty Simpson to turn the ball over a time or two and they create enough pressures to generate sacks. I think they do get to the quarterback a good bit compared to nationally rankings. But, you know, I have ultimate confidence and belief and trust in Ty Simpson, DeBoer, and Ryan Grubb over just about any other set of coordinator, head coach, and quarterback duo around here. And when you get back to the bones of all of this, the quarterback play is the most leading marker of success for a football team. And they've got the one that's playing the best in the country. Against a bad pass defense, we really think that this is going to happen? No. I do think that this number is big on the over-under for a reason. It's going to get really close to 60. Don't have a pick in that game. Saw it, kind of salivated, was like, I'll eat something else. Looked elsewhere on the menu. Going to be an exciting game, though. It's always going to be an electric atmosphere when you see this one. And we'll see if Joey Aguilar is up for the challenge.
Joey Aguilar. You think Nico, if they had Nico, they would win this game?
The last 2 weeks of Nico, maybe.
I'm about to say,
They're pretty good. His stats are still terrible, buddy. I went and looked today. It's not good. The season totals are not great.
Oh, man. All right, let's talk about some other games before we move on to the NFL. Just want to touch on this one. USC Notre Dame are playing. It's at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's minus 9.5, over under 61.5. 7:30 kick. It could be the last time this game is played. I don't know if you guys know this, but the contract expires for this game after the 2025 season. Interesting stuff there. Lincoln Riley and USC offense are second nationally in total and passing yards, third in total points. They've been able to rush the ball for over 200 yards a game, but they're out their top two running backs now this week. One out for the entire season. Notre Dame does have a bad pass defense. They have one of the worst defenses overall, really, in the country, but maybe they'll be able to hone in now, knowing that USC might be a little limited in the run game. But for this game, it feels like Notre Dame just has to win every game by a billion, and they're going to keep trying to. Have a hard time thinking USC is going to be able to get stopped in the pass game right now. So I think they can cover. I think this game's over 61.5. I think that one's definitely soaring. These Notre Dame games seem like they're all high scoring, at least on their side. The last couple of weeks, they played Boise and Arkansas and NC State. So I think this USC team's going to be able to score a little bit more points. You guys got any thoughts on this game?
I definitely feel like Notre Dame should be able to run away with it. I don't have a lot of stock in USC, especially their one loss. I mean, yeah, they beat Michigan last week, but Michigan looked terrible and Bryce Underwood looked horrible. So whatever. They lost to Illinois, and we were talking about it before the pod started. Illinois sucks, dude. And every time Illinois has played any team that is worth a damn, they get absolutely blown out. So I think Notre Dame should be able to keep it up and score 1 million points like they have the last few weeks and keep the train rolling.
I've got a pick in this game, so I'm going to zip my lip.
All right. BYU Utah, Holy War. Don't have a lot to say about this game. Just want to know who you got. Pick a winner.
Give me BYU. Give me the Utes. Wait
a minute.
Yeah, sorry. The Cougars. Sorry. Yeah, that was.
We got a tie ball game.
The BYU Utes.
First time in history. Yeah, I'm not taking BYU. They got to prove it to me first.
Yeah, it is interesting. The battle of the Mormons out there. We'll see how it goes. South Carolina versus Oklahoma. This one's in Williams-Brice Stadium. Oklahoma's a 5.5 point favorite. Just want to touch on this real quick. This stat I saw. Did you guys know South Carolina has the 123rd ranked total offense this year? And they're about to play the number one ranked defense in the country.
No, I did not know that.
That smells like something to me.
Yeah, interesting. I've got to pick in that game later. All right, other games to wrap up before we get over to the NFL. Louisville is playing at Miami on Friday, and Nebraska is playing at Minnesota. Both these, Nebraska and Miami, are ranked teams. Which one's on upset alert?
Call me crazy, but if Miami's going to get got, it's going to be this game. I think this is the best team left on their schedule.
All right.
It's interesting, Caleb. Night game, man, that you might be on something.
It's a sneaky spot, dude. I'm telling you.
Okay, Georgia Tech is going to Duke on Saturday. They're 1.5 point dogs right now. Interesting stuff. Can that be that's a big game in the ACC race. Who knows? If Louisville beats Miami, like Caleb's saying, to Duke beats Georgia Tech, that whole thing's getting shaken up.
Wait a minute. Accusations. I'm just possibly saying it could happen.
All right. Could happen. If it's like Caleb's saying it could, we could have some chaos. Washington's going to Michigan, rematch of the 2023 Natty. Ohio State is going to Wisconsin, and Indiana going to Michigan State. The top three teams really in for a battle this week. Just wanted to point that out. Texas Tech is going to Arizona State. Sam Leavitt's supposed to return. They won't have Jeff Sims, so that's a big game. Texas Tech's been running the Big 12 so far. Can Arizona State kind of keep backdoor their way back into potential playoff spot? Right now, they got 2 losses, so they need it. Caleb, Mississippi State's heading to Florida. Does Billy survive going into the bye week?
He doesn't survive whether or not I think he wins or loses. I think it's done. If you have been reading the tea leaves and the message boards and this and that, boosters met with Strickland Friday or Tuesday night, actually. And basically the message was new direction or the money's gone. So I think the new direction, they will probably turn right pretty hard on Saturday or Sunday morning. I really, I got a somber tone here, folks. I really do. I don't like to see because
he's ruined your program.
He hadn't ruined the program.
He has. Yes, he has.
Here's my thinking behind that. The reason why I say that. He's ruined the expectation of winning like 9 or 10 games. The next head coach that comes in there is going to have an opportunity to win very early just because of the talent level that's in the building. I know they hadn't played great. They hadn't been coached great is what I'm arguing here. Defensive side of the ball, we've all seen it. We've all said it. They can play with anybody in the country if they're healthy. Okay. Well, not only are they not healthy, which we get new people in the building to address the health of these players, the strength conditioning stuff. I brought this up before. Just a little spark on offense would have done wonders for us. And I don't know if you guys picked up on this too, and I felt even more bad about the situation today. Word came out that Billy tried to hire an OC this offseason. Nobody ever heard about it, but he tried to hire Charlie Weiss Jr. away from Ole Miss, and they were doing interviews. Like, it was close, and decided not to go, decided to stick with his guns after that. And that's kind of like the swan song for the man himself. You know, a lot of people touted him like, will you give up play calling? Will you give up play calling? And it was like almost like program integrity to deflect the questions, but he tried to go hire somebody, didn't get him. He's going to get fired now. It never was what it should have been, but I do think the program's going to be better. And the reason why I'm somber is honestly, like, the guy, I could see myself having to pack my bags and tell my kids we've got to go somewhere else because we can't stay here anymore.
Yeah, so Caleb, I'm with you on that, but he's packing his bags and telling his kids are getting out of town with $22 million in his pocket. So with all due respect to the guy, and I get it. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I get it. Him and his wife and his kids, I got to leave. He'll be all right. He going to be all right.
He'll be just fine. He'll land on his feet, too. He knows to meet people.
I mean, to be fair, if you keep going to work and not getting the job done,
you get fired.
Kind of your fault. Okay, Oregon is going to play Rutgers, and Texas is going to Kentucky. We just wanted to bring those up. Don't think either of those are going to be on upset alert, but you never know. Penn State is going to play Iowa this weekend. First game without James Franklin. If you guys didn't know, Penn State did open as a favorite in this game, and then it got quickly switched over to Iowa -2.5. And Missouri goes to Auburn, a battle of the SEC Tigers, not named LSU, on the plane until Saturday night. And I think that's all the big. Oh wait, it's State versus Southern this weekend.
No, Jake doesn't even know his own team. Are you kidding me, pal? It is this weekend. It's this weekend.
Really? It's
you guys are favored.
Come on.
What are we doing?
Keep that whole thing up for you, dude.
Yeah, State versus Southern this week. We're 6.5 point favorites. I think we roll, dude. Georgia State sucks. They're 1-5, but we're not too much better, man. We're 2-4. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully we can cover the 6.5. It's typically later in the season than October. Maybe I'm wrong.
Third Saturday in October.
Exactly,
yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
I've watched Georgia Southern way too much this year than what I should have. I don't know how much you've seen. It's not good.
JC French is not good. JC French
Terrible.
is not a good quarterback.
What do you Everybody's
think
slow.
Yeah.
Like, y'all just look a step behind everybody. Your receivers don't burn anybody. Your corners don't hardly cover them. You just look, everything is in slow motion when you guys are out there on the field.
Yeah, we're not good. We're not good.
The quarterback does suck.
We're not good. Yeah, JC French is also not very good.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about some NFL previews before we get into our picks. Let's talk about Rams, Jaguars. Rams are -3.5, over on 44.5. Game is in London. You could say the home away from home for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 7-6 all time there. I think they played there the most out of any NFL team. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, Liam Cohen used to be under McVay back in the day. So, you know, little father-son matchup. I saw Devin Lloyd's out for the Jags this week. It seems like he's kind of been the MVP for the defense so far this season. And Puka, he's up in the air, obviously, after his injury last week. So, Jake, what do you think is going to happen early Sunday morning?
Okay, I'm going to make a take here about Devin Lloyd. He's been playing really good. I think he has like 4 or 5 interceptions already on the season. The last 2 weeks, he's kind of struggled. Even like, obviously, you know, it's tough to, you know, what I'm about to say, take out the the game-changing interception on Monday Night Football on the 2-yard line against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like, obviously, it's tough to say that, but he played pretty bad outside of that one play. So I don't know how much this is going to hurt us. I don't think Puka plays. I think he misses this one and maybe comes back the week after. Maybe misses one more outside of that. Regardless of those two injuries, this is going to be a really good test for both the Jags and the Rams. I probably favor the Rams in this game to be able to win. They haven't looked great here recently. They beat the Ravens last week, but only 17-3 compared to how some teams have been boat racing the Ravens recently. And then the week before that, losing to the 49ers is a game that they feel like they should have won. So I feel like the Rams will be motivated for this, and hopefully the Jags are as well to get back on track after losing to the Seahawks last week. So we'll see. I do think this is definitely the home away from home for the Jags. They played 2 games there last year. I think the year before that they played 2 there as well. They've played in London every single year since the London game was created. If there's a quarterback in the NFL that knows how to adjust to a London game, it's got to be Trevor Lawrence.
Do you think the crowd's going to be a factor for the Rams coming out east?
Maybe so. That'd be pretty sweet.
Not even a factor.
I would.
Stadium.
Well, the Jags bring the noise, man. You get out of here. You get out of here.
I thought he said the Rams. He said the Rams.
Well, in terms of the Jags fans in London bringing the noise.
I thought. Well, Caleb said Rams.
Well, it would crowd affect the Rams. Well, the fans.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was saying the Rams don't have any fans.
They don't.
No, they don't at any time.
They're all in St. Louis.
Their home games. It really should be like the NFL should probably like try and maybe go back for a game there at some point. You know what I mean? Like see what would be strummed up. They could probably sell out a building, dude. Like 100,000 people would show up for a game.
Why do they need to put 2 teams in LA?
It's never made sense to me.
There was already none. And then they were like, let's put 2 of them.
LA honestly sucks as a sports town, just like in general. The Rams should have to play a game in St. Louis like every year. Like one game you go to St. Louis and play it, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Why not?
It'd be sick. What do you think's going to happen in the game?
I think the Rams played down last week. They've got to get kind of shake back and get back into the groove of what I think they could be, which is a Super Bowl contender. So I pretty much think the Rams are going to run away with this, even though you're going to be seeing a little less Puka Nacua, a lot more. Isaiah Washington, I think is the guy that's replacing him. I saw him. He was, top of the waiver order for projected points now for the Rams. The sharks out there in the fantasy world are saying pick this guy up. So we'll see what he does. I trust Matthew Stafford and McVay.
All right. Eagles are playing the Vikings at the Vikings on Sunday. Wanted to talk about this for a second. Eagles have been struggling offensively. Haven't seen them since that blowout against the Giants on last Thursday night. I'm going to have to face Brian Flores now off a bye week, so we'll see how that is. The Vikings have not announced a quarterback yet. So it could be JJ, it could be Carson Wentz. Caleb, does it matter?
Nope. Does not matter whatsoever. Kevin O'Connell's going to right the ship regardless. I would trust whatever he's going to produce and roll out onto the game field every week.
Man, I was about to agree with you, and you said it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter because I feel like the Eagles are 100% going to get right this week after losing. And it don't matter who they trot out there. The Eagles are going to get theirs.
You're right back on the train, dude, just like that.
Well, I mean, I don't think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but I think it's a really good team. Like, if you don't think the Eagles are a good team, you're out of your freaking mind. So I think they'll be able to start running the ball. I think their defense will wake back up, and they'll be able to get this win.
Jalen Carter is supposed to come back this week for the Eagles. I know they were missing it out on him, especially last week when they were just getting gashed up the middle.
Yeah, I just feel like it's going to be a lot more competitive than people are giving it credit for. I mean, Minnesota is one of the harder places to play. I think Philadelphia's got a lot of other issues that we're probably not seeing internally in terms of how the locker room dynamic is. I would look for them to maybe falter before they go and rattle off 10 wins right here.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say this. Minnesota, it's a tough place to play, but when the Atlanta Falcons were there in September, it was not at all. And that's the last time we saw J.J. McCarthy. So if J.J. McCarthy goes out there, I don't know. I just have no faith in him. But we are talking about the number 1 defense in the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons.
Let's talk about them. The Falcons are playing the 49ers on Sunday Night Football from primetime to primetime. Falcons are 2.5-point dogs right now, over-unders at 47.5. And the Falcons, like Caleb or Jake just said, have the number 1 defense in the National Football League in yards per game and passing yards per game. So really good secondary. I think that's got a lot to do with the pass rush that has been very good in the last couple of weeks. They're also second in offense yards per game and first in rushing yards per game. Finally getting Bijan. Finally, somebody looked behind him and said, we should just give the ball to that guy a million times. And then also 25, whenever, we're wearing him out, let's bring him in and let him bowling ball his way to the end zone. So good statistics right now for the Falcons, still 3-2. Coming off the bye, they looked great against the Bills. We talked about that. They got to go across the country. Maybe a little jet lag. These guys are professionals, though. They should be able to handle it. Can they keep it going, or is it going to be same old Falcons? What do we think?
I think they absolutely can keep it going because this is a 49ers team. I mean, yeah, shocker. Jake's riding with the Falcons again. I am very high on the Falcons after what we saw on Monday. And this is also a Niners team that does not have Fred Warner. Who is going to cover Bijan? Who is going to be able to run with Bijan? I don't see a single person on this roster that's going to be able to. The last few weeks that we saw the Niners, they've looked very beatable. They haven't looked great. This is a team that beat New Orleans by 5, a team that beat Arizona by 1 point, a team who, yes, they beat the Rams in overtime. That's a big win, but then they followed up with an 11-point stinker against the Bucs last week. So this will be a good game. Every single NFL game is a good game, but you put my life on the line, I think the Falcons keep it rolling. The pass rushes look so good. The linebackers, Dion Diablo, Caden Ellis, have been playing incredibly. I can't speak enough about how this secondary has been playing. We should be able to get Billy Bowman back. We should be able to get Darnell Mooney back. Maybe Ray McLeod plays again this week. We'll see. So I have no reason to doubt the Falcons this week. No reason. I think they get it done. And we get to 3-0 on primetime. Why not?
Which would be crazy to come from that, no offense, franchise.
The Falcons are 8-1
Yep.
on Monday Night Football since 2015. 8-1 on Monday Night Football.
Crazy.
Built for primetime, dog.
We get another one right here again. The 49ers are not getting much healthier. The guys that are coming back, I mean, who the hell is going to play quarterback? And are they going to be worth the damn even if they do? I don't know if Kittle's going to play. And, the receiver situation is not any better. I don't think Pearsall's playing. Jawan Jennings may or may not play. Ayuk's still out. Fred Warner broke his ankle last week. He's done for the year. It's unbelievable how bad injury luck the 49ers. I mean, I think it goes back before even people saw Dre Greenlaw pop his Achilles celebrating a big play for them to go on defense for the Super Bowl. That's so huge.
Was that not the opening kickoff? Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering. God, whatever. So bad. So bad.
So, and the trend is not getting any better. I mean, they even added 2 more people to the injury list this week and only upgraded. Like I said, Brock Purdy got upgraded to limited and so did Kittle. There's no way, even if both of them or either of them comes back, they're going to be productive. They haven't practiced in like 3 or 4 weeks. So I like the Falcons a lot. I think Vegas is smoking some of that shit that makes
Kyle Shanahan. Does he have something up his sleeve for the old organization? Does that play a factor at all? He hasn't been there in a while, but is there any psyche there?
Maybe he'll run the ball when he needs to in the fourth quarter.
Maybe.
All right. We're about to get into our picks here in just a second. Other primetime games, got 2 Monday night games this week. Bucks and Lions, Texans, Seahawks. Be huge if the Lions get a win against the Bucks for the Falcons if the Falcons do end up winning on Sunday Night Football. Thursday night game this week is Steelers versus Bengals. Steelers could be sneaky, dude. It seems like that if they lose a game to any team in the AFC North, it would just be embarrassing, no?
Yeah, so the Steelers should absolutely roll in this one. So Aaron Rodgers versus Joe Flacco. I think it's a combined age of 84. It is the oldest QB matchup in NFL history. On Thursday Night Football. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
I am so excited for this game, too. I'm so with you, Jake. This game is going to be electric just to see, they might as well roll them out in wheelchairs for the coin toss, just them two going at it, whatever they need to do to make the emphasis on the greatness that is going to be quarterbacking for both of these teams this week. Thought it was funny that Mike Tomlin had Joe Flacco's name in his mouth last week, talking about the trade, Andrew Berry, this and that. Well, Flacco's going to see what he can do, and you say what he wants to. Flacco kind of had a little bit more pop in passing game compared to Jake Browning, which is not hard to say anything. 0 + 1 is 1. So, interested to see that. Are we going to continue to do this doubleheader Monday night business? I mean, if we're going to do it, they need to.
I hate it. It's like last week trying to watch the Falcons. It's like the whole point of a game being on primetime Monday Night Football is when I go to my phone and I check Twitter, I want them to be talking about Bijan Robinson and I want them to be talking about the Falcons. I don't want to hear about Caleb Williams. I don't want to hear about Jaden Daniels, and that pisses me off. I hated it. There's no reason for it. And I'll say this, they kind of, if they're going to do it, I don't mind how they're doing it this week. Like one game kicking off at 7 and then the next game kicking off at 10. So there's at least some time. Last week it was like an hour difference. So you could, I don't know. I'm not a big multi-view guy, especially when one of my teams are playing. Like when the Falcons are playing, I'm watching the Falcons. I'm watching the Falcons is all I care about. But maybe this, I don't know. I just think prime time should be one game dedicated to one team or two teams, one game.
All right, let's get into our picks for this week. We've got Dave Laudano. Did I say it right?
Laudano.
I've never seen his face. I've said a lot of mean things to him over text, so it's good to finally meet you. I'm assuming a big listener of the pod.
Huge.
Huge.
Going.
There you go.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's get into it. Just to kind of recap the standings so far, it was a rough week last week for myself, at least. I went total standings now. I am 16-18, 4-3 on locks, 0-6 on deep shots. Have not hit a single one yet. Jake is 15-19, kind of catching up, 4-3 on locks, 2-4 on deep shots. Caleb at a 17-17 overall, 4-3 on locks, 1-5 on deep shots. And the guest pickers, Caleb Vega, rough week for him last week as well. He did hit his deep shot though. He did his deep shot, which is huge. It brings him to the guest pickers to 17-17, 2-5 on locks, and 3-3 on deep shots. So right now, Caleb and the guest pickers are tied in the lead halfway through the season. Did you guys?
The deep shots are just killing our total records, Gary. They're killing our records. Like you're 0-6 on deep shots, and what's your like? If you take those away, you're like 5 games over right now.
I know it may have ended up being a bad decision to count those in, but
I think it might have been because I was so frustrated today because I went 3-1 last week, and I was kind of excited about it. But then I'm like, well, no, my deep shot missed. I'm 3-2, so I'm only picking up one game, and it's like one game at a time, and I'm just like trying so hard.
This is the tightest the standings have ever been, though. Like it's usually been somebody's always pulling away. All right, let's see what somebody can this week. All right, we'll start it off. I will start with my favorite this week in college football. I'm going to be heading to New Jersey. Oregon is going to play Rutgers this week. Oregon is 17.5 point favorites right now, coming off that loss to Indiana. I know they got to go across the country, but I've seen Oregon pretty much dominate everybody in the Big Ten other than the Ohio State Rose Bowl game and then last week. I think talk about a coach who's going to have his team ready to play no matter where they are coming off an embarrassing loss like that. I trust this Oregon team. I still think they're really good. I still think they're a top 10 team. I think Indiana's obviously legit. And I just feel really good about landing points here. I know it's 17.5, a little bit of a weird hook there. I think they win this game by 20. I've seen enough to know Rutgers is not that good. I know Ohio took them to the brink back in week 1. I know they haven't really accomplished many things since then. So I'm going to be going to Oregon minus 17.5 here for my first pick, my favorite.
Not the lock.
Not the lock.
Not the lock. Well, my favorite's going to be my lock. I'm going to go the Texas Aggies this week going to Arkansas. I think they've been playing good ball. I think Texas A&M's been playing good ball recently, being able to blow out Mississippi State and then beating Florida in convincing fashion in the last 2 weeks. And then I look on the other side of the ball, Arkansas. They fired Sam Pittman, so that he's out of here. They've lost 4 straight games to Ole Miss, heartbreaker, to Memphis in a heartbreaker. They got throttled by Notre Dame, and then last week losing to Tennessee. I feel like this is a team that is just completely disoriented and, all in their feelings, and I just don't see a team like Texas A&M who kind of resembles a buzzsaw. Big fan of Marcel Reed. I think Marcel Reed is playing really good ball right now. I think they're going to be able to go there. They're going to be able to take care of business, and I got about 8.5.
8.5. Gotcha. Okay.
All right, my favorite this week is going to be a game taking place at Kroger Field. If you don't know where that's at, it's in Lexington, Kentucky. That is Texas and Kentucky squaring off. Texas is a 12.5 point favorite. This is going to be my lock of the week as well. I just was very impressed with the response that Texas has a program to come out and face, say what you want to, a highly ranked team with a good defense, was able to produce more points. And actually, not only that, make Oklahoma's offense, who everybody's been telling Ben Arbuckle he needs to be the next head coach of University of Everybody. Now they got embarrassed a little bit last week. And that same defense is going to be going up against a very, very limited talent-wise team in Kentucky this week.
All right, Dave, give us your favorite and your underdog.
My favorite is Texas Tech. they're just going to steamroll Arizona State. It's going to be easy. I mean, Sam Levy is going to get just destroyed, and Jeff Sims is going to have to come to the game for his 7th year of college football. And then my underdog is Georgia Tech. No surprise to Jake, his favorite team in the nation, plus
Hey,
1.5. And that's my lock of the week.
Yeah, Dave, I'm not really a Georgia Tech hater. I'm really not. I'm really not. And here's why, Dave. I'll let you know. The line does not concern themselves with the opinion of sheep. And we're talking about football right here. I mean, like, we're the Georgia Bulldogs, dude. Y'all are our little brothers over there in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's cute and it's fun that y'all are having this good year. And, maybe y'all continue and y'all beat Duke this year, but I'm happy for y'all. I'm happy for y'all. I really am. Genuinely. I am. I mean that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I like y'all's coach. I like y'all's quarterback. But why would I hate y'all? There's no reason. Like Alabama, there's a reason for me to hate Alabama.
Any response, Dave?
He's speechless.
I have no words for Jake Johnson. He knows they should. He knows they should have lost the game last year. They're going to lose the game this year.
We'll see. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, did.
All right. So he's going with Dave's going with Texas Tech -7.5, Georgia Tech plus 1.5. That's his lock. Caleb Spear bringing it around.
All right, I'm going to spoil the party a little bit. This has been a fun ride, college football. Sorry to do it, but Maryland is going to beat UCLA this weekend. Somehow, America has fallen for the joke that they are just a Cinderella story, that, football teams are great forever. In fact, they can play up every single week. Maryland's going to take the fire from their flame right here, and it's plus 3.5. If I didn't have so much confidence in Texas beating the stew out of Kentucky, I'd lock this game.
Interesting take there. UCLA, I've been seeing on Saturday, people were talking about how if they somehow won out, they would go to the Big Ten championship game. Could you imagine?
No. Wow, that'd be crazy.
I mean, there's no way they'll ever win out.
Yeah, there's no way. But what if? What if they got
they got
the mojo going. They got the mojo going. Man, so my underdog pick was a little tough, and it was actually in the screenshot that I sent to Dave before this. I don't know if he caught it, but I had two favorites. Well, two dogs, excuse me. I had two dogs selected, and one of them was Ole Miss plus 7.5. I was really thinking about it, but I cannot go against my guys. No, I can't put the graphic out there. I can't.
No, just lock it in.
Do it. I can't do it. My underdog this week is going to be LSU plus 2.5 at Vandy. I think this is the textbook get right spot for LSU. I think we've been disappointed in them all season, and I think this might be a good opportunity for them to get right. And I think they're just a better team. In general, I think they're the better team, and I'm getting them plus points. They just have to go in there, take care of business, and beat Vandy, and I win my bet. So give me LSU. This is a good opportunity for them.
The problem is Garrett Nussmeier is not the best quarterback in that game.
God, give me a break. Diego Pavia fan? I mean, we'll give you Haynes King.
No, we're not. I hate Diego Pavia with a passion, but Garrett Nussmeier is just not good at football, and I don't care what anyone says. They don't have a run game for shit either. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't been good this year. I can absolutely give that to you. I'll absolutely give that to you. I will give that to you. But I think on Saturday he'll be better.
That pick is solely riding on the run game being right.
Yeah.
For LSU.
You would hope. I mean, Alabama got it right against Vandy. I like that pick, though, Jake. I think LSU's going to – we talked about it earlier. I think LSU's going to win as well. My underdog, I'm going to go against your lock, though. I'm going to be going with Arkansas plus 8.5.
Oh, really?
Look, this is a Bobby Petrino kind of revenge game against A&M back in the day when Jimbo Fisher got fired. No one made him the interim coach like they did at Arkansas. And Arkansas almost beat Tennessee last week. I don't know I know there's a lot of other things going on last week. People weren't really paying attention. They crawled back in the fourth quarter and made it a game. And I think that offense at home is going to find something. I'm also just not that big on Texas A&M. I'm not that big on Marcel Reed. Like, he's 60% completion percentage, misses so many throws. Like, there's like 2 to 3 a game that he just sails them and doesn't connect. I think they've been able to run the ball really well, but I'm curious that at some point A&M's going to A&M, in my opinion, and I think they can still win this game. But I like the 8.5 for Arkansas at home in a desperation mode. And Bobby Petrino, he used to be at A&M, the guy that Keith Brooking hates. I think he gets the first win.
You're sitting here betting on him.
All right, and then for my over this week. Well, what's so funny?
That was funny. That was just funny, Caleb. I like that. That made me laugh.
All right. My over this week, I'm going to be heading to the Big 12. Baylor, TCU, over 65.5. I know it's a big number, but these two teams are both averaging 35 points a game in the Big 12. 11 a.m. local kick, or I think maybe 11:45. I think it started at 12:45 maybe. But two Texas teams, two awesome quarterbacks, two potent offenses. This is old school Big 12 football. This is going to be into, a 45-42 game, 45-38. I think it goes over. I've been trying to, maybe dwell down on these numbers and try not to, shoot for the stars. But I think sometimes you just got to go with what feels right. So I'm going to be going with the over 65.5 in that game.
For my over-under, I'm going to go with the third Saturday in October and not the Georgia Southern versus Georgia State game, the Bama-Tennessee game, over 58.5. Like I said, when we were talking about the game a while back, I think Tennessee's able to figure out this Bama defense and at least be able to put up I think they'll be able to get into 30s in this one. And I think Bama will be able to do it too. So 58.5, it is kind of a high number. I mean, it definitely is a high number, but I think if we can see this game get to, the 35s to 40s, then we'll be able to hit it. And it seems like this is typically a high scoring game, at least the last few years, definitely in the Josh Heupel era. It's been a little bit more high scoring. So hopefully that trend continues and we go from there.
I cannot believe my over is going to skip through both of you guys and not have the same one. I'm taking USC Notre Dame. Hello, this game just screams over. There's no way this legitimately could go to 85 points. I see a way where this game is like 45-41 at the end of this thing, and it is a absolute classic, okay? I understand everybody's talking about USC and their defense. Maybe they're kind of shaking back. We just saw them get ran up on by Illinois. We dunked on them 3 times on the podcast. I just jumped over the Kia Sportage to Windmill at home. They're terrible, okay? And USC has no business to let a team like that play with them if they're going to be able to stop Notre Dame. Not happening. CJ Carr, I still think the world of him. I understand that they've already lost 2 games. Say what you want to. I think those 2 teams, they got beat by a pretty formidable football team so far. I think Notre Dame's got a lot to prove, so they're going to come out swinging. I don't know who wins this game, but I do know somebody's going to maybe fire a defensive coordinator after this one.
What was the total?
61.5.
Gotcha. Dave, gives your over and under.
So my over is Indiana versus Michigan State, basically 52.5 points. Kurt Stignetti is just going to step on their neck. He's going to go for blood. He's going to say they're not playing another ranked team this season. He's going to put as many points on the board as possible, even leaving the quarterback in 3-4 quarters maybe when they're up 50. I mean, who knows what's going to go on in that game. I'd be terrified if I was Michigan State. But my under is the third Saturday in October, GSU versus GSU, Florida State versus Georgia Southern. We finally get to show who we are, 2-4 versus 1-5. Under at 59.5.
The under in that game is a sharp play.
Yeah, I don't know. You weren't here, Dave, but I kind of segued something earlier for Jake, and he had no clue the game was even this weekend.
Really?
Hey, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. Was this game not typically played in like November, like when we were there?
It's typically played on a Thursday when we were at school.
Well, okay. I don't know. I just didn't remember this game being like the 6th, 7th game of the year. I just didn't remember it being that. I just didn't remember it being that early. I don't know.
It's typically like the 8th or 9th, but
thank you, Dave. Thank you for your service on that one. Very honorable. I'm gonna have a duel off with our buddy Dave here. I got Indiana, Michigan State going under. I just think that Michigan State's going to score negative points this game, if it was possible. Maybe 3, maybe 7. And I just feel like Indiana's gonna be. There's no way they're not gonna be a little down on offense after what they did last week.
They're going to be fired up.
Yeah, it's hard for me to think that like any game Indiana plays, they're not going to be fired up. Like it just seems like that.
Ignetti is the man.
I mean, 38-3 is suffices, no? 41-7.
He's a crazy man. I think he's going to want to win by 50.
Yeah, he might go over by himself.
But
I'm gonna have to send them guys an email if this game's 53-0.
I mean, UCLA took Michigan State to the woodshed. So, all right, Jake, what you got?
For my under, I'm gonna go with a Friday night game. I actually did not realize this was Friday night until right now. Like I just pulled it up and I was like, oh wow, this game's on Fridays. I guess we'll see Saturday morning when the graphic goes out. It's going to be a plus or a check or an X. I'm going to go with the Nebraska-Minnesota under 47.5. Yeah, it is gross. It is nasty. And that's kind of why I think Undy here. I think Nebraska has looked solid so far this year. I mean, they're 5-1. Their only loss came to the hands of Michigan by 3 points. But on the other side, Minnesota just, 27 points, 3 points, 31 points, 14 points, like against any good teams. They played Ohio State. They got absolutely dog walked. Then they played Cal. They only put up 14. Those are really the only two good teams they played all year. I don't see much help from Minnesota to get this over. And I think Nebraska should probably be able to win this one handedly, around 28-10, 31-10, somewhere around those lines, 31-13. I'll even give them 13. But I think it should be able to stay under.
All right. I'm going to go with my under, and it's going to be my lock of the week. I talked about this game slightly earlier. Oklahoma, South Carolina. Under is at 43.5. Low number, but I told you earlier, South Carolina has the 123rd ranked offense in the country right now. They're playing the number 1 ranked defense in the country in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, on the other hand, their offense, their quarterback, it's a little iffy. I would say Texas defense is probably definitely going to be better than South Carolina's, but they are going on the road in Williams-Brice. It's going to be rocky. I think this is going to be, as they call a rock fight. I think that's what they say when it's these types of games. But I just think there's not going to be a lot of scoring from South Carolina. And I don't think Oklahoma is going to be, John Mateer Heisman, 35, 40 points in this game at all. So I'm going to make that my lock of the week. And to bring it around my deep shot, I'm going back to Friday night with Jake. And I am not someone who picks Friday night games, really. I don't think I've ever done it, actually. I think I always try to stay true to the Saturday when I put up the graphic. I also just don't want to, risk having an X front and center. But that same game, Jake.
Sorry, I just cut you off. No, but I think it's a good part of it for the listeners, because if you don't listen to the pod, you're going to miss out on Gary's deep shot right here. That I think he's about to pick Minnesota.
Yeah, I am. Minnesota plus 250. I let me just say this. I'm 0-6 on deep shots this year. There's probably a reason for that. Maybe I'm not smart at picking underdog money lines. But what I will tell you is there's a lot of talk this week about Matt Rule, Penn State. There's a lot of talk. Maybe he's a little distracted. Maybe going to Minnesota. Big time, atmosphere, PJ Fleck on Friday night is going to scare him a little bit. I'm not that high on Nebraska as others people are. They got that top 25 ranking. They're probably feeling themselves. Feels like a really big letdown spot. They're not paying attention. They're thinking that they can maybe sneak their way into the Big Ten. I've seen predictions with them in the playoffs. I think they fall to the Minnesota Golden Gophers on Friday night. It's a risky pick, but that under, like Jacob said, is low because I think it's going to be another rock fight in wherever they play. Minneapolis, I don't think that's where they play.
Minneapolis. So I could care less who wins this game as long as it stays under. So I like that. A rock fight that Minnesota wins. We both can come out on Saturday morning as winners. I'd love to see that. For my deep shot this week, I am going to be going. Oh, I got to sneeze.
Take your time.
It passed. I'm gonna be going with. I'm sorry.
No payoff on the time we just burnt on the podcast.
I got what is it? I got stage fright. I'm gonna be going with the Tennessee Volunteers. Deep shot to take down the Crimson Tide. Plus 250. I think Joey Aguilar is going to be able to get it done. I really think that Tennessee is going, because listen, man, Tennessee's been able to beat Bama. You look at the last few years, they've been able to do it, here and there. This is the team, they're not scared of Alabama. They're not scared of them. And I think they'll be able to get it done. I think Joey Aguilar is going to be able to throw bombs on this team. I think they're going to be able to put up points. And I think we're going to be able to see a Ty Simpson finally make a mistake and Tennessee come out with a win this week. I think so.
Well, I'm not buying it, pal. Sorry. I'm going with SMU plus 290 this week. Taking on Clemson. This is a sicko pick, but hear me out. First of all, SMU's 4-2. They got something to still play for. They're undefeated in conference. That's the main thing that stuck out to me. Clemson's already kind of dead in the water. They couldn't win the conference or probably play in the game unless it magically all sorted out to be perfect for them. And I am one of the people in this podcast that put Georgia Tech in my playoff. You're welcome, Dave. At the beginning of the season, I'm not switching up from my point there. And honestly, it's on the road for SMU. Is it going to be that big of a road game? Are Clemson fans going to show up for a 3-3 Tigers team that they've seen get embarrassed already at home? I don't think so. It's a 3:30 game mid-afternoon. Everybody probably rather watch at the houses, stay in the parking lot maybe, whatever's going on, hell, just stay home. Why not? Just keep your PJs on. Don't even show up, Clemson. You'll send somebody's kid to college.
All right, Dave, finish us off.
I love that pick, Caleb. And my deep shot is Louisville, another Friday game, plus 416. I think Miller Moss is the only quarterback that Miami has actually played this year, and it's going to be a hell of a time when Louisville beats them on Friday night.
Dude, that's it. That I asked earlier. I
Dude.
said, which team seems like it's going to be on upset alert? And Caleb said Miami.
It could happen. I like the pick. Juicy.
Seems like a total, everyone's saying nice things about Miami. I like that one a lot too. Okay, let's get into our NFL best bets before we get out of here. I'm going to start. I'm going to go to that Falcons 49ers game on Sunday Night Football. I'm going to be going with the under 47.5 in this game. I know I said nice things about the Falcons offense. Should have had 31 points in that game last week if they, Drake London didn't step out of bounds. But even if they did, it would still, I think it was 24-14 was the final.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
31-14, that game still goes under. Their defense, number one in the NFL. I think that shows up against a depleted 49ers team. And I think, maybe the Falcons going on the road, they won't be able to maybe be as potent as an offense as well. But hopefully we win the game. It would be maybe I don't know if someone's got a Falcons money line as one of their best bets, but hopefully, but I like the under 47.5.
Yeah, so I do have Falcons money line as one of my bets. I mean, why not? Why not? I think the good times keep rolling. The defense is going to be able to, I mean, who's going to be playing quarterback for the 49ers? Somebody answer me that question. Who's going to be playing quarterback? Is it going to be Brock Purdy? Is it going to be Mac Jones? Outside of that, I already talked about earlier the injuries that the 49ers have on defense. Who's going to be able to stop Bijan? So I don't think there's really much doubt here. Falcons plus 110. I wish the odds were a little bit better for a cross-country Sunday night football game, but we'll take 110.
You don't want them to be better. That's your team. You want it to be minus 450. If anything.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but in terms of gambling, I'd love to look at this and it'd be like plus 140 would be nice. That would be a little bit juicier.
That's true.
Jake, we should be happy with plus 110. I mean, we should be favoring this damn game.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so I'm going with you can call it what you want to, kind of chalk picks. I mean, they're a little boring, I'm not going to lie. I'm picking on bad teams. So we're going to start with my opinion, the worst team. The Panthers are taking on the New York Jets. New York Jets stink. It's 1.5. Panthers. We talked about it earlier on the review pod the last episode that maybe the Panthers are sneaky good. Maybe there is something to what's going on there. Maybe Ted McMillan and Rico Dowdle to find a way to run the ball. Chuba's going to be back. What is that production on offense going to look like this week? Jets are good on defense, so I hear. Have you seen them play offensive football? We talked about it again once before on this pod that they almost had negative passing yards total. I mean, we had to explain the rigmarole there, but it's not good. 1.5 points. Okay, so the Panthers need to get a safety and we win. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I saw a stat today. Since I've been sick, I just kind of sat on my bed watching ESPN all day. I think it was like since 2000, there's only been 2 teams in NFL history to average less than 150 yards passing per game to this point in the season, and it was the Chicago Bears and this year's New York Jets, and both teams were with Justin Fields. Not good. Not good.
Yeah.
Hey, dude. All right, Dave, give us 2 of yours.
So my lock for the NFL would be the Pats minus 7. Vrabel's going to go in there into Tennessee and just absolutely destroy them. The world knows it's coming. He took so many players from Tennessee up to New England with him. They just want to. I know everyone up there right now just wants to go in there, step on their throat, and just show how bad of an organization they are after firing him for no reason. Just because he had beef with the GM. Their other coach was a sad sack of shit. And then my other pick was the Falcons plus 1.5. Getting that 1.5 is an unbelievable gift from the bookmakers.
Oh, man. All right, Caleb, what you showing there?
I'm showing I'm just showing Dave some appreciation. I root for your team. It looks like you root for mine too. Go Pats, go, baby. If you can see it, I'm trying to get, we're in the middle of this facepalm and gator, but there's a Patriots logo there. This is actually from the Super Bowl. This was given out in the stadium when the Pats were in town for the Rams Super Bowl. Most boring Super Bowl ever. However, resulted in another ring for my team. That is also on my picks this week. I talked about picking on bad teams. Tennessee sucks. Mike Vrabel's going back home. He's taking, maybe a top 10 quarterback in the NFL with him. And Drake May, at 6.5, love that they're giving me the extra little hook on that end of the bone. Chew on it. Patriots minus 6.5. Great pick, by the way, Dave.
Dave
Thank
does
you,
not root for
Greg baby.
though.
No, I hate the Patriots.
Yeah, I was about to say, Dave, we need that clarification ASAP. Because, if you don't
I
hate
hate
the Patriots
more than anything in the world. They
yeah,
ruined
he's
it.
a Falcons fan.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was possibly top 2 worst days of my life.
It's top 2.
I can't
You
even
should have
think.
seen the things that were
I can't
texted to
even
me
think
at
about
halftime.
2. I'd love to.
Whatever,
I love those
go on.
screenshots.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was one.
Try to
Dude,
change
I
the
got my
subject here as
phone.
quick as possible.
This is memory lane, but when Harrison threw a party at his house, no joke. True story. Everybody went except for me. I stayed my ass home because I was like, there's no way this is going to go down. I'm going to be 30 versus 1. I'm going to say something heinous at the end of the game if we win, and I might get ran out of the house. So I didn't want to have to, get my tail light broken on the way out of there if we won. So I stayed home. Calls at halftime. Had to put my phone on airplane mode. Text messages rolling through. Jake was talking shit, and I think I just told everybody I'll see you at the end of the game.
I remember
And
Caleb specifically texting me, "Don't do this. Don't do this."
Why are we doing it? Why? Yeah, let's don't do this. Why are we rehashing this?
It's like PTSD.
So we'll segue it. The New York Giants. Caleb, you love the New York Giants, right? Love the New York Giants right now. Cam Scatterboo, Jackson Dart, Brian Dable, man. Looks like they're going to be able to stay on Dable's job. Giants are +7 this week at Denver. It's going to be a tough one. Denver's had a really, really, really good defense, but I think the good vibes keep rolling, and the Giants are able to cover a touchdown.
All right.
Why not?
All right, my last 2 before we get out of here. I'm going to be going with the Chargers -1.5 against the Colts on Sunday. Colts are, a hot team. Then everybody loves the Danny Dimes thing they got going on, but I've been a big believer in the Chargers from preseason on to now. I think they kind of got a little get right situation last week. They're feeling good. Indianapolis has got to come to them. They got a good defense out there in LA. And I think Herbert keeps it rolling. So I'm going to keep the Chargers -1.5. I think it's I'm kind of surprised they're favored, to be honest, but I think Vegas knows something. And then my last one, I'm going to go a little crazy over here for the NFL. Commanders, Cowboys, over 55.5. We've talked about Dak Prescott playing like the MVP. The Cowboys have been putting up at least 30 points a game, it seems like, for the last all season, except for the lightning delayed opening night. Commanders, on the other hand, Jaden Daniels came back. The Cowboys don't have a really good defense. It's a division game. I think there's going to be fireworks in Jerry's world, so I'm going to go over 55.5.
But Dave was holding up. You guys just said he's a Falcons fan. He's got a Colts blimp on hand. What's going on? What's the true story here?
I didn't say he was a good Falcons fan.
This is from my childhood, though. I was a giant Peyton Manning fan.
Okay. That's excusable. We love Peyton Manning. We like Peyton Manning here on the pod.
Best
Peyton
quarterback of all
Manning fan.
time.
Huh?
Yeah, I there was a time where I would have agreed with you, but I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
For my last best bet, we need this one so bad. As a Falcons fan, we need it so bad. We need it so bad. Detroit Lions -5.5 against the Bucks. We have to have the Bucks slip up at some point. They have to. They have to. And what's a better time than against arguably the best team in the NFL? It has to happen now. It has to happen now.
Monday night on the road.
Happen now. And it's in Detroit. Monday
Gonna
Night
be rocking.
Football. Yeah, it's got to happen.
And for that playoff game.
Final pick here for me. Once again, picking on a bad team. This is an early bird special, you would call it. Pittsburgh is taking on the Bengals on Thursday night. Okay. Pittsburgh's 4.5. I think the team is much better. If the Cincinnati Bengals hadn't blocked anybody up front all season, why are they going to be able to block Pittsburgh's front? Don't care how old they are. Those boys can still ball, and they're going to cover people down. They're good in the secondary. And Aaron Rodgers has seen every defense in America at this point. Cincinnati's in trouble. I understand Flacco's going to be there. Maybe it's a little bit of a boost, but I really trust the Mike Tomlin on a short week with a much healthier team than what Cincinnati's got to win this game.
All right, Dave, finish us off.
So I'm going to go with Bill rushing touchdown. He's going to get in the end zone against a shitty Cowboys defense, and I couldn't find the odds on it. But I'm also disappointed that Rico Dowdle was not the player of the week last week again, because he's the man. He's saved me in fantasy football.
Do you have him in fantasy too? As I say,
3 different leagues.
did
Gosh,
think
you're having a
about.
good
I
year.
did say I thought about picking them last week, but I didn't want to go to back-to-back weeks. And shout out Caleb. I mean, talk about catering to the fans. I mean, Cam Scatterbo smoked the competition this week in the.
He is also the man. He's the great white hope.
Pick was purely a social experiment, just to see. He didn't have the best game out of all three people in there.
No,
But
he
you
probably had
guys
the
fell
worst
for it.
game.
You
Probably
guys
the
fell for it at
worst.
home. You great people. Thank you is what I got to say.
Yeah, the future of who we select for players of the week is completely out the door now. Because
Exactly.
when I picked Baker, I knew Baker was going to win. When you picked Cam, you knew Cam was going to win. So we just have to find exciting white guys. That's going to be the person that wins. I've already made my selection. I'm going to write it down somewhere. Who I'm going to pick for my player of the week, regardless of how the game even goes. And I bet I win.
All right. Well,
Is its name Bijan Robinson?
No.
exciting white Jackson Dart,
Exciting.
big dimes. All right, let's wrap it up. That is episode 20. We've got a huge weekend. Like we said, we are in the thick of the entire football season. I mean, it's Wednesday night. We're recording this. We got Delaware and Jacksonville State playing tonight. You're going to have some big games tomorrow. We talked about them on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It just doesn't stop. Shout out to Dave for joining us. We will see you guys next week. Deep shout out.